you are new to the paranormal or have had your share of experiences, we ask that you keep an open mind, embrace your curiosity, and explore the unknown with us. It's time to gather around the campfire.
Welcome to the podcast. I don't know.
Welcome to.
Wow. Wow. Are you a zombie? Are you trying to play the part? What is happening? You sound like a Teletubby. And all I could hear was, what am I listening to?
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. On today's episode, we're going to kill Cheska.
Every episode, we should start it with me just going. I'm just waiting for someone to say something gross, and then I'll go. Although, because that's also how, like, I can make myself puke on command.
Me too. I used to be bulimic.
Yes. No.
Wow, you horrible.
No, I was saying yes before you said bulimic, okay?
I love it.
No!
Yes! No!
Anyways.
Evil is after me.
Evil is after.
Wait, what's happening?
I was like, that's how special I am.
It's okay, Nux.
It was like, leave meeting or join, and I was like, leave? Is that how you join? Leave means to join,
yes.
Right?
Yeah, just leave me here. I'll talk to myself. I do that all day anyways.
Hey, twins.
Topics for the evening.
You talk to the wall as well?
Shut up. Yes. I used to do a lot of ghost hunting. Used to do a lot of it.
Go ghost hunting.
Yes, I would love to do that.
Always waiting. Always watching. I mentioned before in a prior episode that I came from a long line of magic. Old magic. And a lot of that came from my grandmother, my Mimi. She was a French Middle Eastern woman that was born in Paris. She also had Romani in her. A lot of family members on her side were referred to by the Europeans as gypsies. Now, from what I can recall from her stories, my family, they didn't run around in caravans and carrying around crystal balls. At least, that's what I was told. But we did have knowledge of magic passed down from generation to generation. But like Rumpelstiltskin always said in Once Upon a Time, all magic comes with a price, right? Well, I'll let you decide after you listen to my story. When we're kids, we have these amazing, absorbent minds. Many people say we're like sponges when we're young, taking in the world with each second mesmerized. And even the smallest things that would generally go unnoticed, we notice. Sometimes it seems we also noticed more ghosts or spirits, more so than we did as we got older. When I was a child, from what I recall, I saw a lot. And some things I probably want to forget. No, it wasn't all bad and dark and disturbing, but I want to say 75% of the time it was. I was often tormented as a child by dark spirits, as if the living world wasn't hell enough for me. I remember being 3 or 4 years old, somewhere around there. It was dark in my room, and my room had its own bathroom. When you walked in, the bathroom was directly to your left, and the foot of my bed was directly to your right against the wall, next to the door frame. The bathroom, shower, and toilet was in a separate room with a vanity and mirror open to the rest of my room. It was late, after midnight, and I felt like something was off. I carefully lifted my head to see if anyone or anything was in my room. Just a hunch I had. And there it was. There she was. This tall silhouette of a woman standing at the foot of my bed, still like a statue, not moving. I remember she was really tall, and as my eyes adjusted, I could see that her figure caught the light of my nightlight and that she was wearing a red kimono with long black hair, half put up, half down, messy. And as my eyes adjusted even more, I saw that she had a pale face with pink eyes, like the white of her eyes were pink, and the rest were dark pink or red. She looked like a Japanese noblewoman from years long past. And she didn't look very human. She stared at me, not moving an inch. Still, just like a statue was placed in my room. Fear flooded my body, and I took a deep breath before shouting for my mom to help. As my mom came running in and swung open the door, the light from the hallway caused this woman to vanish. She was gone, as if she was never there. I immediately tried to explain to my mom what happened and what words I understood at that age. My mom said she was going to try and pray the spirit away. And eventually, I fell back asleep. I woke up the next morning and didn't really think about it. Months went by and I didn't see her again. Not for a long time. Until one night, I was just waking up to use the restroom. I came out of my bathroom and I washed my hands at the sink that was open to my bedroom. I looked up in the mirror and I saw her again. She was directly behind me. I could see her in the reflection of the mirror, even though She wasn't there a moment ago when I walked out of the bathroom. She was blocking my pathway back to my bed. I couldn't even run out of my room without having to approach her. Then I watched as the silhouette behind me dropped suddenly to the floor, as if she was being held up by a string and someone had just snipped. I dared not turn around to face what darkness awaited me. I immediately dropped on the floor, curled up, covering my ears and closing my eyes tightly. I started to hyperventilate. I was screaming and crying. But this time, my mother didn't run in immediately. She must have been deep in a sleep. I tried screaming for her several times, but I got no answer. I tried opening my eyes just slightly, squinting them to see if there was anything next to me. My mom finally ran in, frantically grabbing me up from the floor, asking if I was okay. I explained to her it was the same woman I had seen months prior. My mother prayed for me. She tucked me in and laid down next to me on the bed. We both fell asleep. When I woke up the next day, I was still too scared to even go to the bathroom by myself. Eventually, the fear did wear off a bit, and the day continued on as normal. 2 years later, we were living in a new place, a house. This place had its share of paranormal activity. Not all bad, but also not all good. It was livable, at least for me. One evening, I was saying goodnight to my new doggie. Her name was Sunshine. She was a German Shepherd. She was very protective of me. When I turned away from her to go into my bedroom, I started to hear her growl. I asked her what was wrong. She usually didn't growl unless one of the animals, like the coyotes, got into our yard or there was an animal outside that she could sense. But she was growling at the darkness coming from my bedroom. Her eyes fixated, and I could not break her gaze. She was not happy. She looked angry, like something dangerous was in there. I asked her again, "What's wrong, girl? What is it? What do you see?" She walked up and got in between me and the bedroom and continued to growl at the bedroom while keeping me from being able to enter. Her growls progressively turned into barking, frantic barking, and my mom came running down the hallway from the living room. She asked me what was wrong, and I told her I didn't know, but Sunshine was barking at my bedroom and that she wouldn't let me enter. My mom flicked on the hallway light so that it would light up my bedroom a little bit before she continued to approach it. We saw nothing, so then she continued to approach it. Sunshine was still barking. She managed to switch my bedroom light on. Nothing. Sunshine stopped barking, but then went into my bedroom and sniffed around like she was hunting something. I got into bed and my mom tucked me in. Sunshine slept next to me, which helped me feel safe, and I fell asleep. A week later, it was nighttime again, and I was going to bed. I fell asleep, but was suddenly woken by my dog Sunshine running into my room, barking like crazy. I jumped up out of my bed disoriented and trying to understand what was happening. I finally got my wits about me and tried to calm her down for a while, but she wouldn't stop. She was barking at my television on my entertainment center. I tried to hush her because I knew that my family was sleeping and I didn't want to disturb them. I told her, let's go to bed. It's probably just another animal in the yard. She started to whimper as I pulled her away from my television. I looked around, wondering if she saw a rat or a snake or something that would sometimes make its way into our home from outside. I didn't see anything. But then, just in the space between my VHS player and my television, I saw a face, a pale face, with pink eyes and black hair staring at me. And this made no sense because the space between my TV and my wall was so tiny. My dog could barely fit behind it. I couldn't fit behind it. But there was this face. I was staring at this ghoulish face. It was the same woman. Her head was cocked sideways, as if she was trying to squeeze in between my VHS player and my TV. It all happened so fast, and my dog was barking and growling, and I screamed. My mom ran in, and of course the usual happened. This woman disappeared. The eerie atmosphere dissipated, and I eventually fell asleep, this time with my mom and my dog at my sides. Years pass, and we move back to my home state, where I was born. We're living in the house, the same house I referenced in last week's episode. I recall being maybe 13, and my doggie had long passed by then. At the end of the hall, my bedroom was the very last door on the right. When you walked in, my bed was against the wall to the left, with the foot of my bed sitting at the door frame. I tend to keep my bed against the walls and corners, especially when I had to sleep alone. The way my bed was positioned, I can see out my door and straight down the hallway, where the hallway ended and the living room began. I was often startled awake by something hitting the side of my pillow next to my face when I slept. And one night it happened again. And when I woke up, I noticed the light of the bathroom in the hallway was on as usual. We kept that as a night light. The door was cracked. But the light started to flicker, and the bathroom door slowly swung open. A pale hand at the bottom of the door reached out from the bathroom and into the hallway. The arm was extremely long, and the hand was sprawled out. It looked as if this thing was trying to crawl out of the bathroom, as if it couldn't walk. I quickly threw the blanket over my head and closed my eyes, hoping it was just a dream and that I would just wake up. And if it wasn't, that I would just fall asleep and forget about it. But I couldn't fall asleep. My heart was racing too much. I was too wide awake. I waited, and I waited, and I finally looked up out from my covers. And when I did, I saw this thing in the hallway. It was lying on the floor, its limbs too long to be human. It was the same woman. She was in her kimono, on the floor, her head crooked like before, her jaw slightly opened, with black around her eyes, and black blood dripping out of her mouth. Her head was looking up at me, while the rest of her body laid flat. It was completely inhuman, the way she was positioned. I could see those piercing pink eyes, like terrifying rubies. Her black hair hung draped over her face, and half of it was pulled up, just like when I first saw her. I stared at her as she slowly opened her mouth, and the black blood or bile started to pour out even faster. Her mouth was stretching unnaturally from her head to the floor. Her jaw was touching the floor. I thought it was going to fall off. All I could see was blackness in her mouth. I could hear what sounded like whispering coming from her mouth, and screaming and laughing and suffering, like her mouth was a portal to hell. She then snapped her mouth shut and scurried under my bed from the hallway. To be continued.
She's a bitch who follows you, and it pisses me off because you don't deserve that.
Well, I appreciate that. She,
You're fine. That's hella spooky. I don't have an experience like that, but
no one really understood why I was just so terrified of The Grudge when it came out, because I had to see that shit for years. So when I saw that, I'm like, how do they know? Like, they got so much right. What? Even the crawling.
you gotta study the demon.
No, I'm so afraid. Like, I don't want to open that can of worms. Just talking about her. Huh?
Know the enemy?
I'm not ready for that, man. No, I totally agree with you.
Someday.
Maybe. I don't really know what her deal is, dude. Like, she showed up at my house, my apartment once, scared my cat.
There's this guy without a face or ears or anything, high-pitched screeching. I'm totally guessing, by the way. This has been a minute. But she's being like chased quotation marks by this. It's more like she'll turn around and it's there, and then she'll run away, and then it's closer, and you don't see it move. And so it had like no eyelids. It was just like, popping out, watching you, and like towards the end, it was like warning her, that she's one of them.
You know? Oh, that's cool.
It's something like that. I don't know. Maybe the creepy demon lady's like, you're one of us. You just don't know.
I know, and it scared me.
Maybe it's a win, and they're just mad that I've showed up.
Maybe it's like the they have a new superhero. Okay, she's Muslim, and her name is Miss Marvel, not Captain Marvel. Miss Marvel. She's like a huge fan of Captain Marvel, and
I saw the trailer for that.
Yeah. Well, we find out that she's like, spoiler alert, that one of the things she fears the most, she's actually one of them. She's a jinn. And that's what reminded me when you said that. Maybe I'm one of them. But yeah, like, people have different names for them: demons, jinn, or genie, angel, like different stuff. But like, I was like, that's really cool. I really like the concept, and it's a really good show. But you have to watch all the other ones, and you need to watch Loki. It's like the best Marvel show out there.
It's gonna take me so long to catch up.
Well,
but it's good. I need stuff to catch up on. Plus, we can watch a movie. We can watch it sometime too.
Of course we can.
This is a bit of a spooky tale brought into us by Reddit user Mosaic_Unearthed. Like I said, spooky tale. And it's definitely one of my biggest fears for sure. The story is called White Glowing Eyes. The following is a very true experience. I've never actually wrote this down before, and I don't know if anyone has experienced this too. This happened between 1989 and 90. I was about the age of 4 years old. To this day, I still get chills thinking about it and wonder if in some way unknown, it changed me. My parents had a house in the Inland Empire of Southern California. And at the time, my brother hadn't been born yet, so I was still the only child. To give you a layout, my parents' house was a 2-story house located in a cul-de-sac. On the bottom floor, there was 2 bedrooms, a bathroom, the living room, and the kitchen. The second floor was just the master bedroom and a bath. All you could see from the street was the garage and one of the bedroom windows on the bottom floor, and the window of my mom's bathroom on the second floor. To get to the front door, you had to walk along the cement pathway that ran along the side of the house. You had to pass the first bedroom that you can see from the street, then you pass the bathroom window and then another bedroom window, and you would be at the front door. The backyard was beyond that point. My bedroom at the time was the bedroom next to the front door. Now, for some reason, my blinds weren't completely down to the bottom of the window. There was about a 6-inch gap with nothing covering it. I was pretty young, so I didn't really care much about it then. The bed was in the middle of the wall, across from my bedroom door, and to the left was the window. According to my mom, this all happened right before midnight. My mother was asleep in her room upstairs, and my dad was a policeman that worked nights in another city. I was fast asleep in my room, and out of nowhere, I suddenly awoke. Looking up at the ceiling, I don't know what awoke me, or if I just popped awake on my own. After my eyes had adjusted to the night's light of my bedroom, I sat up and started looking around my room. All of a sudden, something caught my eye at the window. In that gap, that small gap. First, I thought it was a streetlight reflecting on the window. But I knew for a fact that there was only one streetlight, and what I was looking at was 2 obviously glowing spots that were spaced apart as if on someone's face or something. Then I thought, is that a cat looking at me? And yeah, I vividly remember thinking these things, trying to debunk this at 4 years old. Such a young age. I had remembered then that my cat, Chelsea's eyes, would reflect at night, but this looked different than that. The cat's eyes would almost have different colors when reflecting. These were 2 very solid, bright white, glowing eyes, looking straight at me. I just stared at them frozen, stiff, trying to make sense of what I'm seeing. I couldn't see a face at all. The eyes were just so bright, nothing else stood out. That void or face. Around the eyes looked blacker than the night. I thought again, well, this is a cat. Could a cat be like big as a person, as tall? And why would a cat stand up to stare in my bedroom? The curiosity caught me, and I went for it. I flipped my covers off, turned my little 4-year-old body towards the window, and put my feet on the floor. This is the moment the creepiest thing happened, and it will forever be burned into my brain. I got off the bed and got on my knees to get a closer look at this so-called cat. When at this very moment, this faceless pair of glowing white eyes begins to slowly and steadily tilt to the side. Eyes still locked on me, not blinking once. The feeling of dread and fear shot through my body. Completely terrified, I burst into tears. Immediately and booked it down the hallway, through the living room, and up the stairs to tell my mom. Although I was going as fast as I could, it felt like it took forever. When I got to my mom, I was so upset I couldn't get out any words. Tears were streaming down my face, and my mom was becoming seriously concerned at this point. She was able to calm me down, just enough for me to get out the words. There is white eyes looking at me through my window, through that small gap between the blinds. I said, stuttering, crying hard. Are you sure? My mom asked. I cried out, yes! She didn't even go down to look. She just called the police. I don't remember the time it took for them to arrive or what they said because I finally fell asleep in my mom's bed. I do remember faintly waking up to a knock on the door and my mom going to open it. The cop speaks to her and I hear her say, "Okay, thank you. Have a good night." She shuts the door. "Did they find it, Mommy?" I asked, half asleep. "No, honey. He said they couldn't find anyone." My mom told me softly, "It's okay now. Just try to get back to sleep." It's safe to say the next day my whole window was covered. I barricaded it, of course. Years fast forward, and I'm in middle school now. Every now and then I would think about that night. Sometimes I wondered if that moment was real, if those eyes were really there, those unforgettable, white, glowing eyes. One day, a random thought came up, and I asked my mom if she remembered that night. She tells me, "Yes, of course. Why?" I don't know, just wondering, I guess. Then my mom proceeds to say, "Well, I never told you this, but when the deputy came out that night, he told me they made it a priority to get out to our house as soon as they could because not very long before I called 911, they received another call from someone else reporting that someone was looking in their window in our same neighborhood." Hearing that sent chills down my spine, and to this day I wonder who or what was looking at me that night.
Thank you, Cheska, for being you, as always, and for your beautiful narration of glowing white eyes. And thank you to Mosaic_Unearthed. That was extremely frightening, and I'm always worried I'm going to wake up and see something like that. So thank you so much for sharing that with everyone. And we should be seeing you all back here in about 2 weeks. We release these about twice a month, every other week, and hopefully we will be getting on a weekly schedule here in the near future. Until then, stay safe.